Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Bharat Talks. And today we are going to discuss about a country that no longer exists. Most of the Indian New Age people will not know about this country. The flag of this country is behind me. It is called Tibet. It is on the northern border of India, and this country was actually annexed by the CCP. I will not call them the actual China because that is not the actual China. Actual China is Taiwan, but it was annexed by the Chinese Communist Party in the 1949, and they have hold on to it till then. Now the Tibetan government is still in exile in India with its office in Dharamshala. And many of our Tibetan refugees have migrated from their ancestral land to parts of Arunachal Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh. You have seen, if you have traveled to the north of this country, you have seen many monasteries belonging to the Tibetan people. So we will try to discuss what happened, why happened, and it is to make the New Age people of India aware that a country existed, and within the current political scenario, we should be able to raise our voices against the torturous Chinese Communist Party so that in the longer run, maybe we can see a freer Tibet, right? So with that, let's start. And with the first question that we will try to discuss is that, so what are the factors that led to the Chinese Communist Party thinking that they should annex this part of Tibet, right? So I have a few understandings why they have done that. So first of all we need to understand that majority of the Chinese population resides on the coastal lines. The main economic zones are on the coastal lines. And Tibet is a plateau, right? It's called the roof of the world if you have studied geography well in your high schools.
You mean the Han Chinese? Are you talking about that?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So they wanted to create a buffer zone between the Chinese civilization and the Indian civilization. So they wanted to keep it as a buffer zone and control it so that if they could control the higher altitude regions, they could protect their economic zones. One of them is that. Okay. And the second of all is that always there is a fight for resources between old civilizations. And Tibet is a very resource-rich land. It has a lot of minerals, which is like rare earth metals, is found in Tibet, which is very beneficial for the Chinese.
Any kind of oil resources, fuel?
No, mainly rare earth metals like the noble inert elements like lithium, these type of metals, right?
And China needs that, right?
Which are the current modern industry needs.
Yeah, China needs. I mean, China's real estate sector. You know what is happening.
Yeah. And most importantly, the EV sector. The China is almost
lithium.
50% of Chinese population are using EVs at the moment. That is highest outside of Norway, I guess.
50% of India is using EV. Look at the Toto.
You don't only take that, okay? I mean, if you consider the vehicles, yeah, that's fine, but not nearly as powerful as Chinese cars or something.
So continue.
Yeah.
Yes. So these are the two major aspects. And another also thing we need to keep in mind is that time the Cold War context also came into the picture because that time Soviet Union was projecting its power worldwide, right? So the Chinese Communist Party also thought that we might also be we also want to project that power. So this is one of a final reason that they conquered Tibet. And Tibet did not have a military of its own. They had police and some border security people, but they did not have a army of its own to protect their lands.
Why?
Because they were peaceful people, right? They were tribal people.
I mean, why do China always has these kind of leaders? I mean, these kind of mad leaders. Look at Xi Jinping. I mean, he has gone mad when it comes to things like this. He cannot exist in peace. And you are saying that the older Chinese, I mean, Mao, we know what kind of person Mao was. Was Tibet taken over during Mao's time or was it later?
Yes. So actually Mao went to Tibet. There is a film also based on it, a Hollywood film. It was, I don't remember the name of the film. But there Mao first visited the Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, right? And there he had a conversation with Dalai Lama to peacefully surrender, that they will preserve the autonomy of the region, protect its cultural sites, But Dalai Lama at that time, right, refused to have that because Tibet is a very ancient civilization. It is older than the Chinese civilization if you think of it like that. And the historical reference that the current Chinese government gives is that Tibet was a part of China in the Qing dynasty long back. But majority of the time in the history, if you see, Tibet was an autonomous region. Tibet was a country of its own.
Yeah.
But only single reference they put in that it was under the Chinese, under the Qing dynasty. So this is the reference that they put forward, which is entirely historically wrong, right? And then they annexed it by force. They knew they had the numbers, they had a huge army, and they annexed it by force. And the current government had to flee to India. And if you heard the story of Dalai Lama, right, he had to walk around for 2 and 3 days to reach the border village of Arunachal Pradesh, and then crossed over to India. And then he was granted refuge by the then Jawaharlal Nehru, who was the Prime Minister of India at that time. And he granted him refuge at Dharamshala. So this is the whole story, what happened to Tibet in a nutshell.
It's
in a
so
short
sad actually. You can think about it like if the Pope had to leave Rome and go and stay in Spain or some other neighboring country. It's just like that. It's so sad. I mean, he can't stay in his ancestral place.
It gets this much ignored because it's in South Asia.
Yeah. And people are afraid of China. That's a fact.
And yeah, when you go to such a population, everyone's got to be afraid of you. You have the market as well.
You have the economic might, you can say.
Currently the economic might, but initially when like this was not there, people thought of China as a market. They could sell their stuff there.
Yeah.
I would also give the blame to the government of India at that time. Like there was no proper forward thinking, right?
Plans were bullshit actually. They were most protectionist, I will say. I mean,
They play it safe. They tried to
No,
play
we were of the notion that Indian and Chinese civilization could succeed simultaneously, or parallelly, if you can think.
Hindi chini bhai
And this was
bhai.
very wrong. Yes, there's no slogan that time was Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. That did not go well for us.
that shows the emotional side of Jawaharlal Nehru. That's the
Yeah.
But the thing is, nobody can predict China. You know, China has its set of, like I said, mad leaders. There is Mao and there is Xi Jinping. The people who came in the middle were a little bit sane, but
Yeah.
China has its sets of mad leaders. The thing is, they have the party. They have the party ideology that they want to spread this throughout the world, but their pride lies in their civilization. Their ideology is very globalist, communism, Chinese communism, but the basis of Chinese communism is in their culture. So they are always going to have cultural supremacy, Han Chinese basically. So I have another question. Do you really think Tibet can get its freedom? I mean, if it gets its freedom, what are the factors that could lead to that?
Okay, so it's a long sought after dream, right? Given the current political scenario, right? And the population of Tibet is a minority right now, right? And they have been massacred there. The population is not much. But what if we about to think hypothetically what would happen? First of all is the cultural and religious defensive if it grows in that area. Because the culture of the Chinese people and the Tibetan people are very different. They may look alike, but they are not same, right? These people are Buddhist people who are living in the Tibetan mountains and the Tibetan passes, right? So if a sense of culturalism and this religiosism grows in that area, I think that would pose a threat to the CCP, like the Chinese Communist Party. And other things which might cause this liberation movement to again come in the forefront is the economic, let's say there is a political instability in the China
Yeah.
or economic instability.
I mean, if the CCP falls, then we can expect something different to happen. But then again, the Chinese pride, CCP might fall, but the thing about Chinese pride, that's a very big factor. When CCP is replaced, it will get replaced by someone like Putin. right? If CCP collapses, if the communist China collapses, then it will get replaced by someone like
Exactly.
Boris Yeltsin and then Putin. Something like
There's
that is going to happen.
There's something
So we won't know, right? Democracy might also pop up, right?
I'm not sure, not sure. I have something to say here.
Yeah.
So, like since ancient times, if you compare Indian and Chinese civilization, in Indian civilization, the society has always been powerful. Society dictates what the people must.
Yeah.
But in Chinese civilization, the state is always powerful. The state dictates what the people should do.
Absolutely. Like the centralized command you're saying.
You see, that's why, like in India, we have so many different languages, but in China, the Han Chinese, it's uniform. They have only one language. So,
There is no diversity among the Chinese people, you are saying.
yeah, the Han Chinese,
Culturally, religious. I think religious-wise, they are atheist, but culturally also there are, between the provinces, there is not much difference, right?
their morality is, I guess, derived from Taoism and then Buddhism. Okay, they merge the Taoist beliefs into with the Buddhist system, and that happened. But if you ask me about the difference between Tibetan and Chinese culture, then I'll say like the basic difference is in the script. Tibetan script looks much similar to Brahmic scripts like as we have in India. But like this Chinese script is called kanji script or something like that, I guess. Kanji or Hanji, something
No,
like
kanji is, I think, Japanese. It's
Uh-huh.
called kanji.
I think Hanji is then. I mean, those are different schools. I don't-
Hanji, Naji,
something like that, yeah.
Oji,
Uh,
anything. Anyway, there are too many characters in the script for us to pay attention.
but yeah, there is a difference. But China doesn't accept it. I mean, and there is also
There
something.
is a huge difference. I mean, the Tibetan culture is a very unique form of Buddhism, and the Chinese form of Buddhism was very diluted. There were elements of Taoism, there were elements of folk tales, there were multiple things.
Also, the Republic of China government that is in Taiwan right now, that also tried to annex Tibet. I mean, annexing Tibet is among, I mean, bipartisan lines. They agree to this fact.
If you want to, speaking of religion, you reminded me of something. If you want to look at what would have the Chinese religion looked like without Communist Party, if you want to get an idea of that, of what it would look in 2024, then you can look at Taiwan,
Okay.
right? Think about it.
Yeah, obviously. Taiwan, Hong
and
Kong.
Hong Kong, to some extent, the British influence, to some extent, I would say, but Taiwan is a good example of that. And if you look at Taiwan, you won't see a very religious influence, a lot of religious influence, not in the way we know it.
I mean, the society, I mean, is less spiritual than us, you'll say, or spiritual or less religious than us.
Less different kind of religious. I mean, they have their natural things. They are inspired by nature and all those things.
Yeah.
So, Mr. A, do you think Tibet will be free? Do you think we will live to see Tibet free? Is it a possibility?
Possibility is already always there, but I would not bet on it. But we should press China on this Tibet.
I would love to see Tibet free.
We would all love to see Tibet free because see, it is like why is it important? Let's understand that. First of all, it's a huge strategic advantage for India because Tibet and India had historical friendly ties. We never had any border dispute. So whatever the border disputes we have with Tibet right now is the border dispute between India and the Chinese Communist Party, right? So if Tibet becomes free, it will be a huge strategic advantage
It
for
will be a
India. Our
buffer
border
zone. It's a
disputes will be
huge
over.
buffer zone. It will be.
It will be a huge, and also the trade, right? We had like a huge amount of trade with Tibet. The cultural ties between the northern states of Himachal Pradesh or Arunachal or Uttarakhand with Tibet
with Ladakh.
is centuries old, right? There was like the old Silk Route also, I think, passed to there only, right?
Yeah.
So it will be a big advantage, but I don't think that's happening. But one thing we can do is that on the global scale, we should put pressure on the Chinese along the Tibet lines.
But
That what are you thinking about Tibet?
Yeah, but
And we have the Dalai Lama card.
it's a very tight rope. I mean, if you push it too much, China, right? China is a madman. China is a
Yeah.
person bit by rabies. So China is unpredictable. That's the biggest scary thing about it.
No, see, China has cards. China has its economic might, but we also have, if we play our cards right with respect to Taiwan, with respect to Tibet, it could be of importance to us. And it's not about just thinking selfishly, right?
But
We want to
yeah,
see that country flourish again, right?
yeah.
It is occupied.
But we can't do it alone. Would you agree with
No.
that?
Yes, there needs to be global pressure. I think if you follow the news, right, the US top leadership came to meet Dalai Lama. And
Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi came, right, to meet the Dalai Lama. And she gave a lot of hard statements, right, that and asking Xi Jinping that you might not live long enough, that people will not remember you, but the world will remember the Dalai Lama, the Panchen Lama. And you can't just impose a Dalai Lama on China, on your land, on your annexed territory of Tibet, and claim that it is the original Dalai Lama. The world knows it, right? So this type of pressure, if you put, it would put China on a back foot, and we might gain some advantage. But to see Tibet free, it
Yeah.
has to be multiplied. The
But the thing
global
is,
pressure.
do you really trust US friendship and commitment?
No, I don't.
That is a different topic altogether. But yeah, we need to see our mutual interest, right? But if you see the biggest example, if you see when Nancy Pelosi was meeting the Tibetan government who was in exile, there was no Indian government official supporting them, right? There was no involvement of
That's
India.
excellent diplomacy.
Excellent, right? That we are not involved in whatever you are doing with Tibet, but we host the Tibetan government, but we are not playing with fire like how you are playing with China, because we
Exactly.
don't have that.
That's the thing people sometimes forget. China is not our enemy. It's not in our interest to be enemies with China. If India and China are not enemies, then we can do so many things. I mean, it would be a huge relief to us. A huge headache would go away. It's not worth it.
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. Nehru also thought, I guess. He was optimistic about China, but you cannot predict.
No, I'm not optimistic. I mean, if you're going down the road and you see a dog and you don't stone the dog, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not worth it to take in extra problems. It's better to have China as a neutral thing, not as a friend. We
I
can't
get it.
expect
But,
friend.
I get it, but I mean,
Then as an enemy.
China doesn't need to attack India. Why does it need to, Because there can only be one rising power in the Asia, and currently it is China, and China knows that India could be the next rising power. So it will try tooth and nail to bring down India.
No, there is another thing, right? Indian angle, I agree. But another thing is that they also want to send a message to the United States through India. Right? This, I think both of you will agree, right?
That's what scares me. United States is so far. China is in our neighborhood. US can play everything. US can play its games, and we are the ones that will suffer.
See, let's think of a hypothetical scenario. If China decides to invade India, right, will US come into our forefront and defend our territories? No, right? We have to defend ourselves. So that's, we need to remember. We can't play with fire how the US is playing, right?
Exactly.
US will never support us if there is a war. At least in the beginning. Why? Because look at World War II. When the war started, US did not enter the war until Japan attacked. Till then, US did not have any direct involvement.
Right.
I mean, if we were US, we would have done the same. Why get involved?
No. Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that brings
Comrade.
us to this.
Do you think your comrades will leave Tibet alone?
I don't think so. They'll annex Tibet.
No. As an ex-comrade, right? Do you have any idea what does the left think of the CCPs annexing over Tibet? Do they think it is legitimate?
And they have an argument. Okay, argument as in always a big power should be in the area to control the smaller states. That's same in case of India as well. Like we control Manipur and the northeast.
Yeah.
So yeah, big power should be there. They are landlocked. Someone needs to give them access to ports and all.
Yeah, we will give. Don't worry, Tibet.
Exactly.
Yes.
The way China annexed it and it erased its culture and all. And
China erased its culture, it erased Tibet's culture, it erased the Uyghur culture. Nobody talks about that. Uyghur is not cool, right? Xinjiang is not cool. I
So
mean,
the
you
messaging,
know,
right? It all depends on the messaging, how you portray.
some issues are cool and some issues are just not cool.
exactly, yeah, exactly. And
That's the
that,
thing. I mean, when you are talking about human rights, you talk the human rights of everyone. Every innocent killed should hurt you, should hurt your heart. And
exactly.
what's happening in China is terrible. What they are doing, just think about Tibet. Think about the immobilizations. You have very powerful pictures of monks doing the most powerful kind of protest. They are putting petrol over themselves and lighting themselves. There are award-winning pictures about that. Think about the level of pain that person has, the mental and physical pain. And that reminds me of an interview of Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama was asked, do you agree with these kind of actions that your juniors, your monks are setting themselves on fire to protest Chinese occupation? What he told was, I won't condemn it. I won't condemn it because if I condemn it, it is going to hurt them. That they are doing this for me, they are doing this for our religion, our kingdom, not our kingdom, sorry, our country. And this is a sacrifice. No matter how bad it looks, this is the ultimate sacrifice. And if I condemn this, then their family members who are alive will be hurt. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
we should at least, I mean, the Tibetan community in India is one of the most hardworking communities out there. And they understand this is not their country. Every
And
moment.
one thing I want to add here
Yeah.
is I want to pay tributes to the Tibetan refugees in India by saying that there is a regiment in the Indian Army called Special Frontier Force, which consists of these Tibetan refugees
Yeah.
who have been protecting our borders, right, with China, because they know the territory better than our normal Indian Army regiments, right? So I would like to pay tributes to them. And this Special Frontier Force, for our viewers, was established after 1962 war, the Sino-Indian War, to pay heed to our northern borders because they know the territory better. Yeah.
They are paying the ultimate sacrifice for us. Why should we not talk about them?
Exactly.
And the Tibetan community, as I was saying, is one of the most hardworking communities out there, and one of the most loyal communities out there.
Okay. Exactly.
Anyway,
Okay.
we
I think
hope,
we have reached
we hope
the end
to
of our
see
episode.
a free Tibet someday. Free Tibet.
Yeah, and I for our viewers, I would suggest you if you want to know more about Tibet, right? The film that I was talking about is called The 7 Years in Tibet. It features Brad Pitt. So watch that film. You will get to understand the culture of Tibet, how it was annexed, and it's a beautiful film projecting the lifestyle of Tibetans, how they were caught off guard by the CCP.
Very
So-
painful film.
Yeah, you would love that film. So please, if you get time, do watch that. And we have reached, I think, at the end of our episode, right,
Yeah, we don't have
Mr.
any
Comrade
more
and
time.
Mr. A?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Jai Hind, Jai Tibet, like, share, subscribe. If you can't do any of that, just watch the video. That will also help us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Share it with your friends who are interested in topics like this.
Spread the message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope it was helpful and see you again in another episode of Bharat Talks. Thank you guys. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, Jai Tibet.
Jai Bharat.
Bye.